This video, we're going to do a deep dive into one of our primary customer personas. He's probably our third most important behind Grandma Gertrude and Mom Mary, is Grandpa Gary. Sometimes he can be the saboteur in the relationship with Grandma Gertrude. Obviously, this is the husband of Grandma Gertrude. He's typically slightly her senior. If we're going to call her 75 years old, we're typically only going to call him about 80 years old. He's male. Obviously, they're married. Um, he's kind of the complement to her, right? She's oftentimes the decision maker that ends up hiring us because she knows her own physical limitations and she loves Grandpa Gary enough to say, honey, I care about you. I know you've cleaned the gutters before, but we're going to have these nice young men take care of it now. So Grandpa is an important piece to kind of understand. He also wants to help, his wife and himself maintain their independence. Although he used to do these things, he kind of admits at this point, I need some help to do it. Sometimes he maybe is too prideful and wants to do it himself and sneaks behind her back, goes into the garage, takes the ladder, cleans the gutters. But for the most part, he's aware of his own physical limitations and he's tired of hearing it from his wife, and he's just given it up and allows his wife to make the decisions around the household, like cleaning their gutters or putting up their Christmas lights, doing these household things. But sometimes he's also managing it, but she's usually the decision maker that approves it. So their story, 15 years ago or so, Grandpa Gary and his wife retired from the Bay Area, then moved out to Sacramento to be closer to their adult children, their adult son and daughter who have grandkids in the local area, some suburb of Sacramento. Um, and he's to the point where he used to maintain his property, but now he needs some help to do it. So he's about 80 years old. He's male. He's retired. Importantly, very commonly at least, maybe he's a Vietnam veteran, some war veteran, and he's had a successful career. Maybe he's a manager, whatever it might be. He's affluent. He has a fixed income though. Right. Secondarily, some highlights. He's affluent, as I just touched on. He's a homeowner of a single-story, single-family residence within an HOA in a Sacramento area 55 plus active living retirement community. It's a way to say he lives in Sun City, Lincoln. He's physically limited, especially at the age that he's at, slightly the elder or the senior of Grandma Gertrude, correct? Where they're both physically limited, especially with things like ladders, and they're to the point where, because of their affluence, they value safety first and foremost, but also time. They want to go spend time golfing or, with their grandkids doing whatever. They don't necessarily want to be doing this stuff around their house anymore. And they're affluent. They have disposable income. They hire for services. Some buying factors that he cares about, first and foremost, being responsive to requests. So answer their phone calls, send them a quote, follow up with the quotes. Usually the first person or the first company that does that is typically going to get approved regardless of the persona. Secondarily, he looks at things like professionalism, right? How are we communicating? Are we being consistent in our communications? Are we presenting ourselves well? Are we clean cut when we show up to his property? Um, Obviously, we need to find some option within his budgetary constraints because he's on a fixed income. We want to give him a couple options to choose from when it comes to services. We also want to be available. We want to show up on time, communicate about our estimated time of arrival, as well as being insured. Right, it's important to emphasize to Grandpa Gary that we have general liability insurance to protect your property when we're working. We have workers' comp to protect our employees. And one of the other things he's going to consider too is referrals, right? That's a really great way to build trust with Grandpa Gary, is if we can get referred by a friend or a neighbor. Some needs that he requires at this point of his life is help with these ladder related home maintenance tasks, like the things that we do. He wants ultimately for Grandma, his wife, Grandma Gertrude, and himself to live out their independence in the place that they love the most, which is their home. They want to live out their golden years, and they just need some help to do it. Uh, they don't want to get to the stage of life. They teasingly say, oftentimes, they've literally told me this, dozens of people probably, that I want to go feet first from my home, meaning I want to get carried out of a body bag. They don't want to be forced to go live in assisted living or move in with their son or daughter, because at that point, they're admitting that they no longer experience dignified independence, that they need so much help that they can't do it alone. They can't even live in their own house. They have to live with someone else to make sure they're safe. So they fear, in a sense, losing that dignified independence and having their ability to live independently taken away from them. And as a result, because of the stage of life they're at, they value safety, right? That's first and foremost why they hire us. Some of the things or preferred marketing channels that they might find us through are definitely referrals from a friend or a neighbor, maybe some neighborhood organization that has us on a preferred vendors list. Also, print marketing. That could be door hangers, community centric publications like a magazine in Sun City, Lincoln, or perhaps you might see us at the Sun City Lincoln Hills Farmers Market at an in person event. His son and daughter are adults. They have kids, so they have grandkids, Grandma Gertrude and Grandpa Gary, somewhere in the Sacramento area, some suburb. They live in Sun City, Lincoln Hills. He's about 80 years old. He's typically going to be roughly 65 to 85. Typically not on the younger end of that, typically on the older end of that, slightly older than his wife. He's male, obviously, as admitted. He's a retired manager. He's had a good, successful career, whatever it was, and very commonly he's a veteran, let's say in the Vietnam War. One important thing to distinct is he's on a fixed income, which means he's living off Social Security, maybe his pension from his career, maybe some retirement accounts that he had saved up, 401k or Roth IRA, whatever retirement accounts he has, he's taking draws from those. So he's on a fixed income in a sense, meaning he's not earning active income, he's not working anymore, but he still has a really high net worth compared to the general population. So this person is generally wealthy; they can pay for services. Somewhat kind of teasingly, but like, I think of your grandpa, he might be dressed like this, gray haired with a sweater, but very commonly he's wearing a golf shirt or Tommy Bahama, khaki pants, he's dressing like your grandpa does. Very commonly in their garage, he's got like a super nice car. Maybe he's got, his pride and joy is a cherry red 69 Mustang, or maybe he's got a Lexus as his daily driver. Typically he's driving a pretty nice car. And there's a good chance, while he's sitting on the couch, he's watching Fox News. Some influences in his life is, right over his shoulders, Grandma Gertrude, maybe his financial advisor that's managing his trust or estate, maybe that, the doctor that's telling him, you're losing your sense of balance. You need to be careful. I don't want you to climb the ladder anymore. So he might be hearing that from his doctor as well as his wife. And he's really involved in activities. He's probably playing golf a lot in these communities. It's really common. He might be going to the gym, playing pickleball, playing slow pitch softball. He's got a good mixture of physical and social activities going on. A really good lifestyle in these 55 plus active living retirement communities. And kind of teasingly, almost everyone in this community, if they have a dog, if they have like a little 10-pound white Shih Tzu. So there's a good chance he's taking that on walks, around the block or on the trails or, to the mailbox, whatever. Um, so it touches on that. And then to close it out, some behavioral factors that we've already touched on, he values communication and being responsive to quotes or inquiries. He wants us to be professional, to have some price within his budget, so some option that he can approve. To have available scheduling, to be insured is something that oftentimes they want to clarify that we are. And there's a good chance that he's hearing about us through referrals or some community organization. Demographics, he's about 80, sometimes he's 85, sometimes he's up to 90. Typically not much older than that, because that's the age where it almost becomes mandatory for someone to start getting more assistance and having to move out of their own home. But he's about 80. He's a male retiree. He's affluent, so he's generally has a high net worth, but he's on a fixed income. He's physically limited, especially things with ladders. He's a homeowner in an HOA. Almost certainly he's living in Sun City, Lincoln, or maybe some nice gated community. He's a grandpa to a few local grandkids. He's a retired manager, veteran, as we touched on. He's living somewhere in the greater Sacramento area. So he could be in Elk Grove, could be in El Dorado Hills, but almost more likely than anywhere, he's living in Sun City, Lincoln. Psychographics. He wants to spend time. Like he appreciates that at this point he's had a successful enough life where, in a sense, he's earned the right to not have to do these things. Just sometimes he, you know, is blind to that, to a sense of pride, and like gets the ladder and wants to clean the gutters real quick, and doesn't want his wife to know about it because she's gonna chew his ear off. But he values spending time with his family and enjoying his retirement. Bottom line, that's what we want him to do and what we help him to accomplish. And he's living an active lifestyle, with social and physical activities like golf. So that's all about Grandpa Gertrude. Grandpa Gertrude. Grandpa Gary is his name.